So it happened again. You know, that conversation where you're talking about a plant and you mention a particular use, and somebody says, no research that says this, there's nothing that supports this. Anymore, I just say, okay, and let them just continue to believe that. Because my father used to always say, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. It's what you learn after you know it all that really matters. So I was at this ginkgo roast over the weekend, and we were talking about ginkgos and all of the wonderful properties about it, including the fact that it's in its own family, Ginkgoaceae, how it's a living fossil, how the seeds are edible but only when cooked, and they're toxic when raw. So I mentioned about the usefulness of the leaves, which was countered with, I've never read anything about the leaves being at all useful. It's all about the seed. Now, when I get that kind of response, I have to just pull back a little bit, because when you say that this has never been done before or there's no research that supports this, first, I'm kind of questioning the level of research that you do, because working in pharmaceutical publishing for the last 30 years, I know that there is some research, even though it might not be double-blind clinical controlled studies, because those are usually done if a pharmaceutical company is looking at a particular constituent in a plant and they want to figure out a way to synthesize it so that they can make money off of it. When it exists naturally and it changes from year to year based on weather and terroir, they're not so interested, so they don't generally fund those kinds of studies. But there is information out there. You just need to know where to look. Like this article in Molecules about the biologically active compounds in ginkgo, specifically leaves, or this one from the Journal of Ethnopharmacology, again, which talks about the phytochemistry of leaves, or this article, which talks about the benefits of a leaf infusion. But one of the real reasons that this bugs me so much is because it's, again, this constant diminution of traditional empirical evidence and folk use for plants. Much of the information that we know about using botanical medicine comes from cultures that have been using these things for thousands of years. So I don't really believe that this is only valid if the information comes from the West. I mean, when Europeans first came upon this tree, I sincerely doubt that they knew that this was going to be a neurotonic and a circulatory medicine. But in South Asia, people were well aware that the leaves had medicinal value. In fact, they knew that there was a difference between the green leaves and the yellow leaves. You see, the green leaves were used as an amazing neurotonic. And getting that circulation going in your brain is one of the reasons that ginkgo biloba has been used as a memory herb. This can help with a lot of circulatory issues, including if you have ringing in your ears or tinnitus, Raynaud syndrome, and it can even help ameliorate the effects of altitude sickness. And as the leaves turn yellow and fall, it's almost begging you to use it for respiratory issues. A brew made from the yellow leaves can help with asthma, wheezing, bronchitis, heavy coughs, and it seems to have a naturally occurring inhibitor against SARS, or severe acute respiratory syndrome. And not only does it help to combat that, but it may also work as a way to inhibit the viral replication of SARS. Look, I'm not trying to shame anybody, but the one thing that I try and do is encourage people who want to talk about plants to talk about plants. Because the minute that you come after somebody with, no, it's never used from that, for me, that's a challenge. For a lot of other people, it's soul destroying. And that's not fair. You're not the arbiter of all herbal information. God knows I'm not. I think there's way more out here than there is in here. So that's why I believe in trying to be kind and trying to be encouraging. And when you constantly diminish other cultures and folk medicine and healing modalities just because you don't have access to them, or just because it's something that probably is not being shared with you, because in many cases this is information that is kept within cultures and not transcribed into English. So unless you're going to become a polyglot and study in several different languages so you can read the original text, you probably won't know. So saying that it doesn't exist just because it doesn't exist in your small realm is really just ridiculous. That's
That's it. I'm getting off my soapbox now. Thanks for listening.